family, Liverpool Open University, United Kingdom. Please put your hands together for Professor Jack Whitehead of Liverpool Open University, UK. You're welcome, sir.
Yeah.
Please, you may sit.
Could I just check that you can hear me, because I'm using my computer here, and I may not just be able to have the microphone. Could I just check? Can you hear me at the back? Oh, that's really good. Well, I'd just like to start by thanking the Vice-Chancellor, who gave me a most warm and it was a very humane and caring introduction to this conference and to Covenant University. The senior management of the university were also present, and I must say that I've never had such a caring and a warm and a genuine introduction to anywhere that I've visited around the world. So I just want to say thank you for that caring introduction, and also for the badge that I was presented with, which introduced me to the family at Covenant University. And this does mean something because of the way in which it was presented. And I want also just to make sure that what Bio's introduction was saying about your story, this really is very important indeed for what I'm going to be saying. Because it will only be through you researching yourselves and the values that you're trying to live, the values of Covenant University, that will actually help to bring the knowledge that is in this room to be shared with other people, so that your influence can spread the world over. So not just within this locality or even within Nigeria, but I want to show you how through the internet you could actually spread your stories with your values that you're living here as wide as the internet goes, which is global. So that is what I'm going to focus on for the next 30 minutes. And I might have the internet connection, because it was quite difficult to set it up. And is there anybody here that can just let me know if the internet connection was actually working? Now, because what I want to do is to show you how I brought you resources from around the world that you can access with the touch of a button. That at this moment, the stories of other people from around the world that I've actually worked with, whether it's China or Japan and South America. There's also from Kenya, Mozambique, South Africa, as well as the UK and Ireland, and Norway and Croatia, that I've had workshops on action research and living theory. And everybody has put their stories onto the internet that you can access with the click of a button. Now, those stories are actually flowing through this room at the moment. They're flowing, you won't know this, but they're actually flowing through your bodies through the electromagnetic radiation that this computer, and if you had your computers, can actually connect with. So you have your wireless connection working, you can access those stories and put your stories on the internet so that they can share the values that you hold. One of the problems of the African stories becoming known more widely is that you haven't got the kind of internet access that I enjoy, for example, in the West. I have access within my home, within my workplace. It is reliable. I can just click on the button and access the stories. And I only regret not being able to videotape the welcome that I received from the Vice-Chancellor and the various senior members of the university, because the quality of the relationships, the actual values that were being expressed, could have immediately been put on the internet. Would you like to just, are we okay? Sorry, we're just checking if I can show you for the internet. Can you click on that? Yeah, that's second. We're just going to check if we can demonstrate this process of getting your stories onto the internet. Because if I could have put the welcome ceremony onto the internet to show the values that are being lived at Covenant University, this would have made a big impact on other people around the world that could appreciate the quality of the relationships that you've established here. Now, I hope I'm making sense to you, because I'm asking you to research your own practice and your own relationships and have the confidence that this really is very significant knowledge, the knowledge embodied in who you are and what you're doing, especially the values that you hold in Covenant University. But I'll just check just to see if I can actually bring you the resources I prepared for you on the internet. Now, my website is actionresearch.net. It says at the moment it's unable to open it. But if you get to home, and you just remember this name, which is to do with actionresearch.net. If you could take that down, actionresearch, all one word, .net, you'll be able to access this talk from my website. And what I've done here, just in case it didn't work, is to put the front page of my website so that you can see what will come up when you put actionresearch.net. Now, I'm known for the development of an idea. And the idea is that each individual in this room can create their own living educational theory. That when Bio talked about your stories and asked you just to talk and introduce yourselves, it is your stories which are really important to get onto the internet. And one of your Nigerian poets has actually put it very well. Now, I'll just mention this because one of your poets, called Ben Okri, I don't know if you know his work, but Ben Okri talked about the importance of stories. And he said that stories are what we live by. And what he said was this: to poison a nation, poison its stories. A demoralized nation tells demoralized stories to itself. Beware of the storytellers who are not fully conscious of the importance of their gifts and who are irresponsible in the application of their art. Now, I liked very much the third stanza that I've taken from Ben Okri, and the second as well. Just look at that one. Stories are the reservoir, secret reservoir of values. Change the stories individuals or nations live by and tell themselves, and you change the individuals and nations. Now, Covenant University has got a unique set of values that it is committed to and wishing to live as fully as it can. And you are carrying those values, but you are not yet researching your own practice in terms of those values and making your stories public and sharing them on the world. And that is what is now needed, I think, for what Ben Okri is saying. And remember that this is coming from a Nigerian poet. Now, nations and people are largely the stories they feed themselves. If they tell themselves stories that are lies, they will suffer the future consequences of those lies. Now, this is the key part. If they tell themselves stories that face their own truths, they will free their histories for future flowerings. And that is what Ben Okri, as a poet, is advocating that we all do. We get in touch with the values that matter to us, we research them, and this is where the living educational theory is very important. Because a living educational theory is your explanation of your influence as you try to improve your practice with others. Now, I'll repeat this because I first had to change my view of educational theory in 1971. I was studying educational theory at London University with the most significant professors of the day in philosophy. They were called Richard Peters and Paul Hurst. And they were telling their students that educational theory was made up of philosophy, psychology, sociology, and history of education. Now, I was coming to their philosophy seminars out of teaching science classes in the East End of London. Educational theory, according to the philosophy professors, wasn't actually connected to my explanations that I was giving as a teacher. In fact, they said that my practical principles were at best crude and superficial. They were just crude maxims that had a first crude and superficial justification in practice, that in any rationally developed theory would be replaced by principles from the philosophy, psychology, sociology, and history. Now, am I making sense here? Because this is the big transformation that I believe the alternative paradigms that we're studying here at this workshop need to face. We need to be able to confront the people that are telling us that it is those traditional kinds of theory that constitute educational theory. Whereas my point is that everybody in this room can help us to constitute living educational theory by actually creating your stories of how you're trying to live your values as fully as you can in terms of your professional life and practice. Now, what I'm just going to do, because if you try to shift the traditional view of research and transmission, you've got to be able to shift what I'm doing now. Okay, because if you look at this space, I'm actually, to a certain extent, controlling this space. That most of you, in fact, all of you are sitting, and it appears that you are attending. Your mind not might be attending, but you appear to be. But I am controlling the space. Now, this is quite difficult if you want to move to an action research process where it's your knowledge that is very important. And I just want to give you the experience of moving the control from this dominance that I'm having to where you just talk to a partner and just a couple of minutes each about what really matters to you. What I'd like you to do is to see if you can find out just a couple of minutes each about what really matters to the person next to you in terms of their values. What is it that they're trying to do in their practice that they really care about, that they are passionate about? And then I'd like just to show you how that changes the power and the control of this space. So could you please just try that, just with the partner next to you, and I'll shout out just change, so you can give each other the same time. Right. Okay. I've got 3 people here who are just sitting silently. Good? Great. That was very fast. It's very good. Well, make sure you've switched over then. Thanks. Okay, could we just come back together? It's funny because I've asked people to do this all over the world, okay? And you are honestly the quietest audience, right, that I've ever had. Now, a group of 3 people here, they only talked for about 15 seconds and then said, we've done it, okay? So I'm just going to ask them Because sometimes I literally cannot shut the people up. Okay? The noise in the room is so loud that I really got to work to talk. Here, all I've got to do is to ask you, and you immediately turn. You know, it's very courteous, very polite, but I'm controlling. Am I making sense again? That, yes, the control is here, the space. So, could you just say just a little bit then about your values? You might just have to speak up. Yes?
Integrity.
Yeah. Integrity. Any other?
I have a cluster of your I have a cluster.
Yeah.
Combination of integrity, responsibility, and diligence.
Okay. Yeah?
And diligence.
Okay. Now, I'm really curious because I'm very aware of the core values of Covenant University. And those core values are spirituality, possibility mentality, the capacity building, integrity, responsibility, diligence, and sacrifice. Right? Now, those are the core values. And I'm getting those core values fed back to me. Yeah? Those were your core values. Let me ask, are there any of your values that don't appear yet on this core value list? Have you got any values that you feel, oh no, I believe in this, I'm passionate about it? Yes? What?
Respect.
Respect. Great. That's a very important one, respect. So, to inquire into the enhancement of respect in your project, your action research, could be very significant. Any others that you're feeling, no, I'd like this value to be heard? Yes? Yeah, we'll try. Impact. Yeah, really important. The fact that your life makes a difference, that you want to influence something for good. This is what I'm hearing. Yeah, again, that is something that you could research using the action research to see whether you're actually making an influence, having an influence in relation to these values and others. Now, I come from a university which has also got, in the UK, I don't have the kind of religious beliefs, but in my university, it is very influenced by a Catholic tradition. So the major administrators are Catholic, and they have, in the Faculty of Education, a statement about love and hope. It's the only university that I've ever seen that has actually got within its mission for its Faculty of Education the statement that all our work is actually connected with the values emerging from love and hope. Now, that is what I am focusing on myself. I'm trying to say that love is really vital. I don't think any of you will have put love in your academic work. In fact, at my university, where I was at Bath University, it was about 7 years ago, we got the first doctorate with the title Love at Work. That love was seen as a standard of judgment. Hope is being seen as very important to put into your academic work. Now, the way in which you can do this using action research, and I know Jean McNiff will talk more about that when she comes, I think on Wednesday. I just want to hold this in mind, that the action research cycle, which has been very important in my own life, I was shown this cycle very early on in my research at the University of Bath in 1976 by 6 teachers. I worked with them for 2 years. I produced an evaluation report. I was working with them in classrooms for 11 to 14-year-olds, what we call mixed ability science groups. I produced a report on evaluating what they were doing with all the up-to-date theories of curriculum innovation, of evaluation, and of change in the teaching learning process. I gave it back to the teachers, who actually said, Jack, your academic colleagues may think this is okay, but we can't see ourselves in the report. I went back to my data, and I spent 6 months with one of the teachers reconstructing my report with data from their classrooms, with video clips, with data from the children, and I produced a report which they then said, yes, this fits very much with what we've done. And it had this form, and this is the action reflection cycle that I've used since then. They said that they had some concerns because their values, like respect or having an impact, were not being lived as fully as they could. And I think everybody in this room, just driving from Lagos Airport to Covenant, will see huge areas of social life that you feel, yes, I would like to improve the quality of that life. The key thing in the action research is for then you to say, what am I going to do about it? I'm going to imagine something that will improve it. I'm then going to act on it. And as I act, I'll gather some data to make a judgment if I'm being effective. Are you okay so far? Because this is really important if you are going to carry out this kind of action research. You gather data to make a judgment on your effectiveness, not anybody else's, yours. And I do this with me. You then act, and as you're evaluating, so you gather your data, you're going to evaluate. You evaluate how effective you are in relation to your values and understandings. And then what you do to be researchers is to produce an explanation of your influence in the learning in this process that you're engaged in. You produce an explanation which you share with others. And this is what makes it research. It's actually an account that you make public so it can be criticised for validity. Now, I hope I'm making sense here, because this is the key action-reflection cycle in terms of the development of a new paradigm, that if you want to develop the action research here, linked to the values you hold, each one of you will need to engage with that kind of question. How do I improve my practice? I imagine what to do. I act and evaluate. And most important, I will share my explanation with others in this group. So you create what we call a validation group, often of 5 or 6 people, that look at the strength and the validity of what you've done with your explanation. Now, I can show you if you go onto my web page, and I'll just check just to see if I can get on, because I would like very much to show you where you can access the notes that I've produced for you, and also where you can get some of your accounts published, if you wish. So if you'll remember this website, it was Action Research .net. Now, this will be too small for you to see, but I hope you just get a general idea here that this is now enabling all these resources to flow literally through you into this, and not just into the room, but they're actually flowing through you. You can access all the notes I produced for today here. So you can check on this by clicking on this. There it is. So it brings up the notes that I produced for you today. I want you to be able to access this journal because it is called the Educational Journal of Living Theories. It means that you can produce your accounts, multimedia accounts, using video, using audio, and bring your stories into the public domain that can be shared worldwide. That is the Educational Journal of Living Theories, which you just connect to from here. What's new in the 2010-11 academic year? You've got a very exciting project in relation to Africa, 3-year project based in Durban. I go there in July for 2 weeks to work with the lecturers at Durban University of Technology. If you click on this, it just gives you all the details of a project that you can actually link in with and share your ideas with the people in Durban who are working on this idea of the African academic. So you're trying to create the idea of the Nigerian academic researcher. Now, I just want to show you one thing as well that I think you could develop together, which is quite unique, and which, coming out of Covenant University, could help to make your research distinctive. Now, it's to do with what I experienced with your Vice-Chancellor and others early on today. Now, what it is that you can actually get into video clips of people who have put clips of themselves in action into their master's and their doctoral degrees. Now, I'll just try and see if I can actually bring this up, because this resource here from this page contains over 30 doctorates that I've successfully supervised to completion over the last 14 years. And those doctorates are quite unique. I'll just read you 1 or 2 of the titles. Now, this one here, how do I improve my practice as an inclusion officer working in a children's service? Now, notice the I in the question. How do I improve my practice? Now, just by going into this dissertation, you can access some of the video clips that the individual has analysed in terms of the values and their emotions. And just by clicking on one or two of those there, this may not come up because of the no, access denied. So if you'll do that at home with your access, you'll be able to get the video clip and actually see Christine Jones, who works in inclusion, accessing a clip and giving what we call a visual narrative about her life and her work. But the one point that I want you to take away from my own talk today is to do with how you could decolonize the Western eye by putting an African, what we say, a small we, and then with a, we call it a tilde, which is a little squiggly line with an eye, a little eye, not a big eye. So you've got the notation, we, tilde, I. Not the big Western eye, how do I do it, the artistical eye. But if you were to bring a relational quality that I experienced in the welcome by the Vice-Chancellor and the senior team into your research, I think you would create a unique contribution to knowledge. It will be relational, it will be dynamic, you would be able to put the we and the I together, so it would acknowledge, like in South Africa, the notion of Ubuntu, of the I am because we are, and you would decolonize the central position of the Western eye. That in Nigeria and at Covenant University, you could make this a relational quality, the knowledge that comes through relationships that I was experiencing in the genuine welcome that I've experienced about an hour ago. And I was given this, which some of you will have seen, but it was a welcome to the family at Covenant. Now, that idea of welcoming me into your family, and it is genuine, there's no question about the care, and I would say the love that is behind what is being offered. Now, that is where I think you have got a major contribution to make in terms of your research. And it is a genuine decolonizing one. It is what Ben Okri called for. Tell the stories, the reservoir of values that you've generated here, literally, over years and years, where you've experienced so many transformations and changes, and you're now very much free and in control of your destinies. You could bring your stories into the web, through the internet, and share them with the groups that I'm involved in all over the world, and you can do it through that Living Theory journal. But I do hope you'll access the notes that I prepared for you, because you'll see, I could have linked up my computer to the internet. At the end, you'll see I've got for you 5 journals and other activities that you could engage in to make your voices known through the internet. So I do hope you'll access at actionresearch.net into the notes for today, and then just go to the bottom and access where you can get into the Journal of Living Theory. You can access researchers in different parts of the world to share your ideas with. Now I'm just going to pause there because I haven't got long, and I just wanted to give you, if you had any questions, just for 5 minutes, just to pause now and just to say, well, do you have any questions for me that you would like to ask? Because actually it's an interaction with you rather than me controlling the space, which is going to be the most important part of the workshop. So could I just pause there and just ask, are there any responses or questions that you would just like to ask about what, yes?
Where does...
We'll get it in. It would be nice if you could let me have your name as well so I can just connect. That's good.
I'm Professor Ogundipe, I'm in Sociology Department.
Yeah.
And what I was going to ask you, I'm following everything you're saying and I'm enjoying it and understanding it. And my mind is going through, you know, the eye. We are talking about the eye. And my eye, for instance, has been terribly influenced by the Western education I have received. But my own Africanness, my being a Yoruba woman, and some of the things we are talking about, the sort of reception you got from Government University, for instance, also has part of its roots in the indigenous Africa.
Yeah.
So that I have to be careful,
Yeah.
not to be claiming things that are in the culture as being original to me.
Yeah.
The respect that I talked to you about, for instance,
Yeah.
is basic in Yoruba culture. But
This
it's not been done now. And if I refer to it, I cannot really truly say it originates from me. It is from the indigenous culture.
That is so important. I was giving the keynote to tell TASA in Johannesburg last December. And in the evening, there was music and dance. And what was so powerful in the evening was the women, and it was a group of about 18 women, just started to dance on their own. And then gradually, they came into a huge, big circle, and the movement was beautiful. And it was also communal. It was coming from the culture. And this is what I experienced today in the quality of the relational dynamic with the Vice-Chancellor. Now, that is not coming from me, that central I. It is within your culture. And that is so vital to recognize that when you ask your question, how do I improve my practice, or how do I improve our practice, you are located within a very influential culture. And that has got to be brought in your understanding of the most advanced social theories of the day. So that is a really vital point to bring into your living theories. That sense of how the culture is influencing how you're influencing culture. So thank you for that question. That is really central. And you'll see all the doctorates engage with that central issue of the culture. Are there any other questions before I finish? Because I really must finish. I've had my 30 minutes. Any other? Yes. Sorry. Yes.
Thank you, sir. I want to ask how to divulge the issue of action research, especially when it comes to interpretation. Because we know that in quantitative, when you interpret, because it's science-based, 2 plus 2 is 4, without whatever interest or your background. But when it comes to action research, the interpretation of it, what influences it most of the time is your personal makeup. And the interpretation you are giving to what you are reading is not even the intention of the writer. I don't know how to actually say to that.
Okay, now again, a really important question. And it is to do with what we call validity. Now when you raise that question about culture, one of the great social theorists of the last century was Jürgen Habermas. And Habermas said, even as I'm speaking to you, you're using 4 criteria to judge the validity of what I say. You're asking, am I comprehensible? Have I sufficient evidence to back up the claims I'm making? Am I showing the influence of the normative background of the culture from which I'm speaking? And am I being authentic in that you can see over time and interaction, I truly believe in what I believe? Now, if you set up a validation group, for example, you 6 could form a validation group to check the comprehensibility, the validity, the evidence that I'm offering. So it's beyond an anecdote, it's beyond the subjective interpretation of an event. You're bringing your intersubjective criticism into establishing the validity of your account. So this is another really important point. Now, I hope you'll access my notes because I really do have to finish now. And if you go through those notes, and if any more questions, do please write, because my email is on the action research list. And I'd love to take up some of the questions so that you're feeling, yes, I've answered what it is that you're really interested in. Is that okay then? Because I've really enjoyed just being with you, and I look forward to the rest of the workshop. So thank you.